Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you're either listening to or watching the Angel Rock with myself, Lorilei Potvin, on United Public Radio Network, otherwise known as UFO Paranormal Radio Network, or just UPRN. And we're broadcasting to you over on 105.3 and 107.7 out of New Orleans, Louisiana. We are also anywhere where podcasts and talk radio is carried, as well as a few video streams. Now, if you'd like to join in on the show tonight, we get a lot of people doing that. I love to make you part of my shows. Please head over to either Facebook or YouTube. You're going to be looking for UFO Paranormal Radio. Now, if you're on Facebook and you've never done this before, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook and just give them permission to use your name and your picture. Otherwise, you just come up as Facebook user tonight. And as you can see, I'm on my own this evening. Before we jump into the show, I guess I should tell you a little bit about myself and the show. If you've never been here before, welcome. Please check out the network. There is something for everybody here. We have hosts from all over the world. We've got great shows. So if you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe, and let your friends and family know. Because even if we're not streaming live, I believe we are now 7 days a week. You can also, the archive server is always going, and this network has been around for at least 2 decades. There's some incredible programs that will play when we're not live, so check it all out. Now, if you've never met me before, hi, welcome. I'm also a co-host on this network on Thursday nights of another show called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed with my amazing co-host, David Hansel. But a little bit about this show tonight. Usually I have a guest, but it's a holiday here in Canada. It's a long weekend, as we refer to it, or over across the pond, you may refer to it as a bank holiday. I am a Canadian clairvoyant medium. I'm a crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, a spiritual teacher and mentor, a truth seeker, and as well as a registered nurse. So my show, I feature people from all walks of life, including I'm a true crime fan. I forgot to add that in. So you may be seeing some true crime stories on here as well that are quite fascinating, definitely sad, some of them, but sort of an interesting thing. I think we can learn a little bit about humanity and the way some individuals may perceive their life and what they choose to do with it. And hopefully we can take something positive from that. And speaking of positive, the guests that I have on my show, like I said, they come from all walks of life, but whatever they're doing professionally or extracurricularly, they're doing something positive for humanity. So next week we have a guest favorite. She's been on, I think this is her 3rd appearance. It's Carmen Turner Schott. I was trying to remember it's Turner Schott. And she's an incredible astrologist. She's also a social worker. She's got a new book out. And in my field, I would be referred to what you would call light worker. And I find with most of my peer group, we either know what astrology is, love it, eat it, breathe it, sleep it, or those like myself who are aware of it, know a teeny tiny little bit about it, but I just didn't get all the terms and the houses and everything else. And she was one of the first people that actually helped me really understand some of it. I wouldn't call myself an expert by any means, but anyways, happy May long weekend to those here in Canada who are celebrating, or as it was known before, the Victoria Day weekend. And I always know when Memorial Day is in the US, our brothers and sisters across the border here from us in Canada, because you guys have your Memorial Day weekend next weekend. So we should have fun when we will be having a Memorial Day party online next week. Because like I said, Carmen is planning on joining us live. So we should have a lot of fun. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do a replay tonight or what I was going to do. I purposely didn't book any guests tonight because I didn't know if we were going to head out to, we call it camp here. I live in northwestern Ontario. We're about 40 minutes away from the Minnesota border, and I'm about 6.5 hours north of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I figured if I didn't head out to camp, my partner, Adele, is out there today, not back yet, so we'll see what things are like out there. The weather's definitely a little bit more different. Hi, Judy. Welcome. I'm glad to see you here. Yeah, so I decided to stay home and clean. The house needed a good cleaning. That's what happens when you have a big dog that likes to shed. But I was really taking a look around last night. I was doing a little research for the thing at the foot of the bed for on Thursday night with my co-host David. And I was taking a look at the weird and strange and unusual things we are seeing that are going on around the world that are being reported. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but there is a viral picture going around right now. It looks to be what some people may refer to as a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Hey, Zach, man, welcome. I'm glad I was thinking, holy cow, I'm going to be talking to myself tonight. So I'm glad you guys are joining me. Anyways, this Sasquatch with the human beings that are in this picture looks to be at least 9 to 10 feet tall. Now, the research I've done, some people are saying it's fake. You've been cleaning today too, Judy. Hi, Sandra. Welcome. Um, so I'm not sure. Yeah, if you just popped in, I said happy May long weekend to those of us in Canada that celebrate. And Zachman, I just remembered I had to stop my stream. Happy birthday, guys. It's Zach's birthday today. Spirit just reminded me mid-sentence it's your birthday. So I'm so thrilled that you're choosing your special day to spend it with us tonight, Zach. Thank you. Hi, Kelly. Nice to see you. Well, what I was saying was happy May long or Victoria Day weekend here in Canada, and happy Memorial Day weekend next Monday. I will be here next Monday with a guest because you guys are all just sort of popping in. Anyways, back to this viral picture. There's been quite a few actually. I don't know how much room we have on our, because we put our banners up and we've got so many great hosts here now on the network. It's getting smaller and smaller to put a lot of extra things up there. But take a look at this. If you look for, I guess probably Bigfoot picture that's gone viral, you'll see it. And I've seen people saying it's fake, it's been debunked, and then other people saying, no, this is not debunked. It was definitely taken back in the past. I can tell you that. But why or when, I have no idea. There seems to be no fear on these people's faces. They actually look like they would be posing with a friend. If you had a friend that was between 9 and 10, 11 feet tall and was, I guess, covered in nothing but hair. So I don't know. And I've seen a couple different poses now. There's a guy I mentioned before. He's a Canadian. He has kind of a sarcastic, almost a little bit angry tone to him. His name's Steve, and he's got a channel that's called How to Hunt. And people write in with their stories and encounters of Sasquatch, dogmen. And there was this new term I've been hearing him use. I don't watch him all the time. And he calls them the Sabe. And from what I can you feel 34 years young today, Zach. Good for you. Good for you. Many more good years to come. So this term, the Sabe, from what I can understand, it refers to Bigfoot, but I've also seen people using it all encompassing with cryptids, if you will. And for people that don't know what cryptids are, they're basically unusual creatures that seem to appear on this planet or people have encounters with that it's unexplainable. So things like dogmen, things like Sasquatch, the little people. I wouldn't really call things like fairies or unicorns that. I would more or less call them elementals. So I'm just reading Sandra's comment. Happy actual birthday before yesterday to your granddaughter Charlotte. Well, happy birthday, granddaughter Charlotte. I'll just call it lots of birthdays in May. I'm actually really surprised because that, unless maybe, you know how we just kind of sort of attract certain people around us, right? But it seems like I meet more people, and I have through my life, with people's birthdays in May. It's incredible. One of our friends that are, well, it's one of the Dell's friends from years ago from high school. I was started hanging around with Dell when the mom was pregnant with her daughter. And she was just about a week before she was going to deliver. And the Dell's birthday is on Thursday. It's May 25th. And I remember him saying to the mom, I think you should call her Della. They knew she was having a girl. And she said, absolutely not. Well, I just saw a picture of her. It's her actual birthday today, the 22nd. She's now 14 years old. 14 years goes by pretty quick. So Zach says, fun fact, I share my birthday with two of my cousins. Well, believe it or not, Zach, apparently the story goes with my parents, who were teen parents when they were pregnant with me, or my mother was. She was babysitting my cousin, who is 2 years older than me. And I guess it was either the night before her birthday. And yes, I do have a cousin as well. We are 2 years apart to the day, August 15th. So there you go. That happens, I guess. So back to the Sabe. Um, so this is quite an interesting picture, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, you guys. Have you seen this picture? Do you, I can try and post it. Let me see if I can post. Well, I don't know if you'll see it though. I probably have to pull me off screen. I wonder if I could try and screen share. Now I tried this before. I don't know if it's going to work. We're going to have fun while we're doing this, guys. You know what I'll do? You know what I'll do? Hang on. Let me see if there's a way. I don't know if I can put, you know what I'll do? I always pin this. I should do this while I'm talking. I've streamed to my Facebook profile. It's public. You can find it. Lorilei Potvin. It's easy to find. I'll remember to post it in the comments below here, and you guys can take a look. If I had a guest here, I could pop it up, but when it's full screen like this, I'd have to pull me out of the stream to do it. So the one thing I do want to do, I always do this for people though, I do post the show when it's live to the top of my profile. It's also on my YouTube channel as a backup, but apparently the comments do show up from my channel. They didn't before, but I'll say hi on there. So you guys, if you ever want to follow me on YouTube, you can find my shows very easily on there, as well as I do have some teaching videos on there. I need to make some more. Spirit has been gently suggesting it's time. Hang on, I'll say hi to you guys here. I have the volume turned down, thank God. So I'll say, hey. I'll say thanks for being here, because I see some of you YouTubers. Kelly, I'm going to read your comment in just a second. I think I said hi to you, Kelly, but if I didn't, hi. Thanks for being here. I'll say thanks for being, not YouTube. Almost said thanks for YouTube. I'm trying to multitask here, guys. There we go. There's my channel. It'll come up in a minute. Hi, D-Dip. Nice to see you. Welcome. I'm glad to have you here. You said you've seen it once, Kelly, and ended up getting busy, but when I came back to the story, it was gone and disappeared from my device. Yeah, I heard that from a few people, and a couple of people that sent it to me. And then I had seen it and meant to go back and save it, kind of like what happened to you, Kelly, getting busy. And then all of a sudden you go back and it's gone. So, you know what I could do? Hang on, this, because I want you guys to see this. I saved all kinds of stuff to talk about. Okay, so I've got two of them. It's not going to be perfect, but you guys will see it till I post it. Look at the size of this sucker. Now, so people are going, no, it's fake, it's fake. And then I've seen people saying it's real. So there's one. Here's another one. And I believe another friend of mine, he's been on the show before, Augie Nost. He also had sent me a different one too, but that disappeared from the stream. So look at this. This is with another. Hi, Michelle Pratt. Glad to see you here. So it even cut his head off. You couldn't even get him in the frame of the picture. But so you can tell by the clothing that this is from quite a long time ago. And why is he carrying a stick? That's what I want to know. But obviously, hey, Howie, glad to see you here. So obviously, these people are comfortable. Let's go back to that first picture. I know it's not perfect. Oh, now this guy has a stick. Maybe he gave him his stick as a sign of friendship. I don't know. I know it's not perfect, guys, but I'll post it below. So kind of crazy. And then Kelly says it was just weird. Guest Spirit didn't want me to read it. Well, maybe not. Maybe just life happened. Maybe you needed to be in a certain place at a certain time. And when you got drawn away, I don't know if it's spirit. Oh, good. So Howie's telling us about this. Good. Howie, I'm so glad you're here, because I just said, if anybody knows about it, to let us know about this, because I couldn't find out much information. So Howie, I'm going to highlight your picture. Now, Howie, this is you, right? Howie, like the real Howie. I want to make sure, because somebody stole Howie's profile. So I hope this is our real Howie, because he usually is in here under Ed which I know is the real Howie. It's the real Howie? Well, we'll find out. I'll find out because I know Howie well, so I'm going to message him afterwards to make sure. So he says it's from the 2023 Virginia Bigfoot Convention on, or are you, well, we haven't had June 17th. So is this going to be presented? Is that what you're saying? Because obviously it's not June 17th yet. So, and Michelle Pratt says private parts blurred. I didn't even look, Michelle, because I was thinking about that earlier. Yeah, I guess it kind of is. Hang on. Well, not really. I don't know. Maybe oh, this is being bad, but I was just watching a drag queen putting on makeup. No, I was not copying, but I know what drag queens do to hide their private parts. So hang on. So you can see he's not really blurred, but is he tucking? I hate to say that, but so I'm not sure. Like the other one, yes, not really blurred if you look. Like you can, I'm not trying to center in on his private parts, but it's not a female because we would know from the chest. So interesting. Leave it to Michelle to bring the the humor in. So, okay, so Howie, I need a little bit more information. Okay, so June 17th, are you just telling people about the convention or conference, or are you saying this is going to be covered in it? Or if anybody, hi Heather, maybe he has a hairy one. Maybe really small. I don't know. Boy, who knew we were going to do a show on Bigfoot's private parts? I've heard of Howard Stern in his movie Private Parts, but not Bigfoot or Bigfoot. I'm calling him Big Butt. I didn't even mean to do that. So, anyways, I don't know if this picture is real. The second one I just found like an hour before we went live, wasn't looking for it, and I found it. But I was looking up some weird and strange things. You know, the other thing I was really getting into that absolutely fascinates me, terrifies me, fascinates me. Never want to run into this, but I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Black-eyed kids. Have you guys heard of this phenomena? There's the lesser known white-eyed kids. I haven't really heard too many stories about this, but I have been fascinated with black-eyed kids and this phenomena for years because it just sort of seemed to come out in the earlier 90s. Ah, yes, like Howie says, or welcome to Virginia, Howie says, okay. Yeah, black-eyed kids. And, you know, I want to hear your thoughts on this, you guys. And even if you're listening on the replay, please leave some comments because as the story goes, I'm going to cover it. Oh, Zach, I didn't see your comment. You said Bigfoot is more hung than pants on a clothesline. I missed that one. And if you're just joining us, it's Zach's birthday today. So let's make sure he has fun with us because he's spending some of his special day with us. And I stopped mid-sentence because Spirit reminded me at the beginning of the show if you weren't here. And I said, oh my God, Zach, it's your birthday. And then Sandra said it's her granddaughter Charlotte's birthday. I think she said day after. I got to go back. I have to see that again because we'll celebrate the birthdays here. I'm going through. So Zach, yes, you're gonna have to remind me, Sandra, because happy actual birthday day before yesterday. Oh, so 2 days before was Charlotte's birthday, Sandra's granddaughter. So back to the black-eyed kids, you guys. Yeah. So what this is, if you've never heard of it, these stories started appearing of people being wherever. I'm so glad that you're here, Zach. Zach Howie. I've got Zach on the brain. I'm trying to think of a bunch of different things. I'm thinking of these stories I was told. I'm wishing people happy birthday. Multitasking. So as the story goes, and there was a gentleman, I should have wrote his name down. I want to say his name is Steve. He seems to be the first person that this thing sort of went viral, even before things would have been considered viral back in the day in the 90s. And I believe he was in his car. And I'm going to read your comment in just a sec, Zach. So he was in his car, and these kids came up to his car and knocked on the window. And I guess he lowered the window and asked them what they wanted. And they asked if they could come in to his car. And he couldn't understand why these kids were out at the time of night that they were. I think he said they were around 8 to 10, and there was two of them. And he said they were dressed in like jeans and really drab, shabby clothing. Like it wasn't ripped and dirty. It just wasn't, what do I want to say, trend appropriate for kids at that age. Like he noticed it definitely. And the kids seemed to be very monosyllabic and kept getting more and more insistent. And he said he kept feeling this horrific terror and horror about these kids and he couldn't understand why. And they kept insisting, could they come in? They kept asking, can we come in? We need a ride to go meet our parents at the mall or something, or I think they wanted to go to the movies. And he said no. And he said all of a sudden, like everybody seems to report like they're almost in a bit of a trance, like they're being compelled, as in, and they're in absolute horror and terror, and they don't know why until the kids look up and you see their eyes are completely black. And he said his hands started going towards the door, like to open it. And he caught himself. He's going, what am I doing? And I guess he pulled away from it. So it's a pretty crazy story and phenomena. I haven't read anything as of late, like in the last couple months, but people have these periodic stories. So, and what it is they always ask to come in. Always. They are most insistent. They start to get very angry and firm. I guess before it was just, can we come in? I guess they've realized they need to change their story a little bit. They don't really have a conversation anyway. They just keep insisting we need to come in, but we can't come in unless you invite us. We need to come in. And then what'll happen is some of them have said they'll be waiting for their parents. And like one guy went and grabbed a shotgun because he was like, this guy was he worked at a prison. He was a prison guard. He was massive. And he was terrified of these kids. They were at his door. Like it was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And it was like Halloween night. And it didn't have so much to do with the date, but the fact that he didn't have many kids. So the fact that these little kids, I think he said they were between, one looked like they were about 8 and the other one about 12 or 13. And like this guy finally slammed the door on these kids because he almost let them in. And they kept saying, we can't come in unless we have your permission. But we need to come in. We need to use the phone. We need to, like, they just keep insisting and insisting. And he slammed the door. And I guess he said he found himself slumped down in front of the door. Like his heart was just about beating out of his chest. And all of a sudden he realized, like, I'm going to go grab my freaking gun. Like, this is crazy. And he went outside to find them. Usually when people try to find them afterwards, they're gone. A couple people have seen them getting into blacked out window vehicles, and it looks like the men in black are picking them up. It's like, what the heck are these kids? I'm going to read some of your comments because I know Zach. Yeah, it does, Howie. It almost sounds vampiric, but I'm going to get into. I hadn't heard this before. There's a really compelling story I heard lately. Oh, Michelle says June 17th is my daughter's birthday. She's 31 this year. Well, happy birthday to your daughter for June 17th. Let me go back a bit because I know Zach had a really interesting comment here. I went too far. Give me a sec, guys. Howie said that picture, going back a bit, we're going all over. Like I noticed Sandra's comment. We are. She said Howie said those pictures will be covered at this conference coming up June 17th. He said he's looking forward to it. There'll be a squatch hunt that night. Ooh, that sounds cool. And let's see, I'm going back past the happy birthdays. Sandra says she was just born on Saturday, so I'm not sure who that was. I think I missed it, but congratulations to whoever that might be have been born. Okay, there it is. Zach says, black-eyed children, never met any, don't want to, just like what I said. If they show up at my door, they get the same treatment. I give it to Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormon missionaries. Oh, I'm waiting for it, Zach. I can just hear. Actually, you know who I do like to send out if we get people like that at the door? Is the doll. Like, you might as well just grab your popcorn and sit back because he's not rude to them. But when they say, have you met Jesus? And there's nothing wrong with people's religions. I'm not knocking them. And he'll say, well, have you met my Jesus? And he usually has them going in circles. Like it's quite funny. They always leave. Like he's never insulting to them. He doesn't tell them to leave. It's just, he confounds them. That's what I'll say. So you pretty well want to grab your popcorn. Sandra says we're messing you up by bouncing back and forth on topics. No, like I said, for those of you just joining or joined in before I started, with it being the long weekend, I purposely didn't book a guest in case we went out to camp. It's kind of the first weekend where I know around this area in most places where, whether it's Memorial Day, well, depending, I guess, where you live. If you're in a hot place, you could sort of go if you have a cottage wherever. But up here in Canada, this is usually the weekend people start opening their cottages or what we call camps. So I didn't go out to camp. Dell did with his mom. So we'll find out what the weather's like out there because it's kind of in a basin. So it could be pouring rain here and cooler, and out there it could be like 110 degrees and all sunny. And I know because it's sort of in a basin with the lake, you get so much more snow, even though we're only about 20 minutes away from it. Excuse me, I'm just going to grab a drink. So Michelle said, Black Eyed Kids. She's adding, yeah, knock on your door to use your phone at odd hours. Not just the phone. I went through all kinds of stories and videos. I find the place to go. I tried a bunch of different things. It was TikTok because it's a quick video and people seem to post their most recent type of stuff on there, right? That was the easiest place for me to find it. And so I've seen them asking to go to the movies. There was a story of, now this freaked me out. I'm going to go through the comments and I'll read what this story was about. So Zachman says that dude didn't want to end up on Dateline. I guess I must have missed something. Howie says, it almost sounds vampiric, doesn't it? Oh, you were referring to your granddaughter, Sandra. Okay, well, happy birthday to her. Absolutely then. Oh, Charlotte. Yeah, that would make sense. Charlotte, yeah. Okay, 2 days before was her birthday. Got it. Well, welcome to the world, Charlotte. So back to this story with this family. I guess there was a story that I came across where mom was a nurse. She was coming home from work. I guess she picked up her son at the babysitter or something, and they needed just a few quick groceries and gas. And it was about 8-10 minutes away from home. And she didn't want to go to the grocery store after a shift. So because she only needed a few things, she parked right in front of the Gas Mart sort of convenience store. She was in there 3 or 4 minutes. Her son was about 8 years old. She comes back to the car, and there's somebody in the car with her son. And the way she described it, like the seat was really big, like for 2 little boys of 8, right? Like you didn't need to be sitting with each other. Well, there's this little boy practically almost sitting on top of her son, and he's in the car. Like she couldn't figure out, like, why is this kid sitting? Who is this kid? Why is this kid in my car? And why is he sitting so close to my kid? And so I think she asked her son, like, who is this? And she just got this horrible, like everybody reports. Dave Schrader, you were absolutely right, Michelle. And I believe thank you for that name. He's one of the first ones I think that talked about the story. I have heard of him. Anyways, back to this story. Everybody gets this feeling of dread and terror when these kids are around. Even before seeing their eyes, they don't know why they feel this. And I guess the kid looked up because she said to her son, like, who is this? Is this like a friend of your son, from school? And why is he in the car? And I guess her son looked up and said, well, no, mommy. He asked if he needs a ride to find his mommy. And he asked if he could come in. So I told him yes. And I guess the kid looked up and she just ripped her kid by the arm and just booted it back into the store. And because his eyes were all black, and never mind the feeling of terror and dread she's having. And I guess she went in and explained to the convenience clerk, and he came out to check it out with her. The kid's gone. And he said, you want me to call the police? And she said, no, what am I going to say? I'm going to look like a nut. Like some kid was in my car that terrified me and had black eyes. Like I can't prove it. So she decided to call her husband to come switch cars with her. And I guess he could tell by the tone of her voice, like, she's really upset. She's really scared. I'll figure it out when I get there. I'll just do it. So he came to drive her vehicle, and she switched vehicles and drove his vehicle back. And they're only about 5-10 minutes away from home. So she left with her son, got home. Next thing she knows, Sam, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. I'm I'm really surprised that you know about these things. Isn't this interesting? I know Sam very well. I don't know if he wants me to let people know how I know him, but I know him and I love him dearly. Anyways, I guess this mom got home with the son, and so her husband should have been right behind her. And he's not, and she's starting to get a little bit worried. So we're going to go back to the story a little bit. I guess the husband goes to get into the vehicle, and he said it was the worst smelling, rotten, sulfuric type, rotten garbage smell. And he could not figure out what the heck this was. He was going under the seats. He's going through the engine. He's going through the trunk. Like he's thinking, like, did somebody leave a bunch of rancid fruit and meat and whatever in here? Couldn't figure out what the smell was. So I guess he gets in the vehicle and he opens the windows to air it out as he's not even 10 minutes away from home. Now we're going back to the wife and the kid. I guess he's not home, and he should have been home seconds after the wife and his son. She gets a phone call from the police about a half hour later saying her husband's been in a horrific car crash and he's at the hospital. Can they come down there? So she goes to see him. He's able to speak to her, and he says, I don't even know what happened. I don't even remember having the crash, and explains about the smell. So thankfully, he's okay. He ends up eventually coming out of the hospital, going back home, but their son starts getting really sick. At first, it starts seeming like a cold. Then the doctor says, oh, he's just got a cold, send him back home. This kid is still really, really sick. Then the doctor says, no, I think we've misdiagnosed him. I think it's influenza. We'll put him on antibiotics. Next, another month passes. This kid's still not well. Now he gets diagnosed with having measles. And they can't figure out how the heck this kid has measles. He's been immunized for it. Like, what the heck is going on? I guess this kid was sick for months. All kinds of strange ailments. They couldn't figure out what the heck was happening. And the reason why I share it, because my question has always been, what happens if you let them in? And do we know, are there more people that let them in? I mean, we do hear of people no longer being alive, and people never find out why. Like, what happens? And this isn't the first story I have heard. There was a couple more where one guy let them in, I guess, and then he got diagnosed with the rarest, most strangest, weirdest, aggressive form of skin cancer, and he was dead within 6 months. Now, not everybody reports this smell, but apparently a lot of people do. So what are these things is what I'm asking. What are your thoughts? I'm going to read the comments. I'm going to go back a little bit. Hi, Sam. I did not know that. He says, I love reading paranormal encounters. So like I said, Howie says almost vampiric. That was one theory. But if we look at vampires, with the legend and lore, vampires, right, are supposed they can't come into your abode, we'll say, unless you invite them in, just like these kids. Then I don't know, but vampires are supposedly, in the legend and lore, to at least take some sort of blood from either their victim, or if they're turning somebody or whatever they're doing. These individuals aren't doing that. Now, why do they create such abject horror, fear, and terror even before people see their eyes? They pick it up right away. And why do they need to be invited in? Like, we also know from the vampire legend and lore that vampires are supposed to be able to compel their victims to make them do whatever they'd like them to do. Most people that encounter these beings say they feel almost like they're hypnotized, like they're being compelled to do things, and they don't even realize they're doing them. Like, their mouth is saying no, and they're saying, no way, you're coming in. And next thing they know, they'll catch themselves just about ready to open the door and let these individuals in. Now, I've heard of it in a car. I have heard of it in homes, and it is crazy, the stuff that is going on with this. So like Michelle said, thanks, Michelle, because that's exactly who I was thinking of, because I believe he's one of the ones that really helped make this story sort of go worldwide, is Dave Schrader. So Michelle says, for people listening, Dave Schrader would talk about Black Eyed Kids. Not sure if you've heard of him. Darkness Radio, XY, or sorry, maybe 10 years ago. I think that's what you meant. But yes, I've heard of Dave, definitely. So Sam says, we'll highlight his comment here. I read about black-eyed children encounter recently. The person was working late night at a convenience store and they saw two children playing across the street near a wooded area. At first, he was concerned about why some kids were outside so late. Yeah, this usually seems to happen. They're out at all hours and they seem to be anywhere from about 6 years of age to, there's not been really, I don't think from what I've looked at through the research, there's no reports of kids being any older than, say, about 16. With Sam's story again, he says he went outside to ask the children if they needed help, or for him to call someone, but then he was overcome with dread when he started getting closer. The parking lot was very well lit, as gas stations are, and as he approached them slowly, or as he approached them, they slowly stopped. We'll read the rest of Sam's comment. Thanks for typing this out, Sam. He says, I love reading about paranormal encounters. And Michelle says, a cross between a vampire and a goblin. I don't know because, Sam, you said as he approached them, they slowly stopped. So I'm not sure if there's more to the comment because I can't see it. Unless you left it typed, I can check on Facebook if there is, so you don't have to retype anything. Let me take a peek here because I want to read the rest of your comment if there is. Okay, Facebook, give me a sec here. I don't know because there's been talk, Michelle, about them being, are they alien hybrids? Is that what they are? Like, I don't know though. Like, it's so strange. Hang on, Sam. Okay, I got to the rest of the story. Good. So, I got to find out where it is in here. Okay, as he approached them, they slowly stopped playing and turned to him. He realized they had black eyes and stopped, luckily right on the edge of the light. He ran back to the gas station and locked the door, and he said that he thinks the only reason they didn't approach the gas station was because of the light or the bright lighting that surrounded the building. So scary. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I don't know. Like it, and again, I gotta say, I don't know a lot about goblins. That I don't. If anybody does, feel free to leave some comments here about it. I remember the Spiderwick Chronicles. That's about the only thing I know really about goblins, and that's not a true story. So I don't know. Like, we didn't even really hear about them a lot in Harry Potter. Now, the reason why I bring up Harry Potter, because the more and more I learn about the paranormal world, the more and more I realize that J.K. Rowling really did her homework and borrowed a lot of things. She didn't plagiarize things, but she built it into her stories, um, really built on a lot of the legend and lore within the magical and even paranormal world. A lot of things I'll come across that I know I've read in the books, and it's like, holy cow, she really did pull this all together. So I'm not sure what this is. And like I said, I would never want to run into them. Okay, so something really interesting just came across in my mind here. What have you guys heard of any of this type of black-eyed kid phenomena happening since over the last 3 years, what we just went through? And to be careful what wording I use over the last 3 years. But have you guys heard of anything like this? Because think about it, everybody was home, at least for some period. You would think that maybe, I don't know, you'd hear more about it. I don't know. It just seems odd that, it's just sporadic and it never seems to be like it's always when somebody's alone, usually, except for the mom and the kid when she came out and her kid and the storyteller, I think it was the mom who wrote in, and she wasn't really exposed to the black-eyed kid, but this kid was practically on top of her other kid, like he was glued right up to her kid's side. And I forgot to add to, this kid gave her the most glaring look, like, how dare you take that kid away from me? And but he only had exposure for about 3 to 4 minutes and he got that sick. Um, so everybody's saying about the last 3 years. Michelle says nope, hasn't heard anything. Zach Man, haven't heard of any recent incidents in the past 3 years. Yep, me neither. And maybe the last 3 years was a cure. I don't know. Getting into creepy stuff tonight, guys, because I looked it up. We're going to be talking about that on Thursday. I'm saving for some of the other stuff that Dave and I are going to talk about. But I don't know. Like, there's this. A lot of people. We can get into the ufology here, guys, because I am telling you, holy cow! I'm going through some of the things I've saved. Ooh, this was spooky. Have you guys seen these? These are on TikTok. This almost didn't look real to me. He's having a chocolate bar. That didn't look real. But these gave, ooh, I'm getting the goosebumps. I can't play it because it'll probably biofeedback on you. But have you guys seen these interviews with these supposed, and it's not old, like this looks like a newer one. And I can read what he's saying. Just give me a sec here. Sorry. Um, Let me see if I can get it to go back here. Oh yeah, I gotta go back to the beginning. Okay, give me a sec. Oh yeah, this one it's from the channel at Fan Club. So it's F as in Frank, A and underscore C as in cat, L as in lion, U, P as in Peter. Um, well, read your comments here because we're still having a little bit of a talk here. Extraterrestrial phenomenon, some type of radiation exposure. And Sandra Sharp says that, Heather, I was thinking radiation too. Yeah, because why would they have that odor? Because if we're even, I will get to this in a minute, but we're still going to talk about this, but we've got some comments. I almost wonder if they are like an alien hybrid, but where does that smell come from? Like, not everybody's is complaining of the smell, but there's been a lot of complaints about it. Almost sulfuric, like, and I don't know how many of you know, I'm sure you guys do if you follow the paranormal stuff, but they say that something demonic has a sulfur smell to it. I can honestly tell you, if a spirit is not positive and it really comes from a lower astral plane, oh my God, the smell. I can tell you some of the things we smelt in our house, and just as quickly as they were there, like our previous home, it was gone. So here we have something else that smells really horrific. We've got, I know people, depending on who, how many people have you guys heard with Bigfoot, for example, the smell? And then dogmen, especially, that seems to be becoming a lot more popular, and it's the smell. But that is an interesting phenomena, like you said, Heather. I hadn't thought about radiation exposure because, yeah, now that I think of it, but where would they come from? Because they almost sounds like they've got eyes that are like the grays or the tall whites, right, with the big black eyes, but they look human. Are they shapeshifters? Because that's where I was going with the smell. Like, it seems like a lot of cryptid type creatures seem to have this sulfuric, really putrid, horrible smell. So I don't know. Is it from another dimension? Because to me, how could you look almost completely human, except you're able to compel people to do things, human beings, and you've got these black eyes, but human beings, and not everybody's aware of the energy perspective, if you will, that everything is energy and the laws of energy. But I've yet to hear the story of one human being telling about this story that the first thing they notice once these kids start knocking and they get close to them is the absolute terror and horror they feel. Like, everybody picks it up. So Sandra says, hybrids exuding radiation um, along with a stench. Yeah. So where, like, are they coming from another dimension, another timeline? Like, I heard these stories about black, like probably when it came out, and I really wasn't into the paranormal. And I remember hearing about these, and I'm like, where are they coming from? Like, I don't know. I've got so many questions. And the thing is, why kids? Well, I got to tell y'all, in the paranormal world, I am absolutely at heightened alert when it's a child. Don't get me wrong, there are child spirits. Hey, Robin, over in the UK. Nice to see you here. Um, yeah, I am on absolute high alert if I run into a child spirit. And don't get me wrong, I've heard some heartbreaking stories that there are children that are lost or maybe passed really quickly or tragically and haven't realized they've passed, or they don't want to leave because they don't want to leave mommy and daddy or whatever. But I've also seen some pretty low vibrational, really evil, negative entities pose as a child because they know that as a human being, most people are going to gravitate and want to help a child versus showing their true form. So let's read this. So Sandra says psychic attacks as well. So what are these things? Robin, you're just joining us. We're talking about black-eyed kids right now and some of the stories that come across and try like just your theories on this, you guys, like what you think. Like what are these things and where do they come from? And why did they just show up all of a sudden? Like we don't have centuries and stories about this. It's like in the mid 90s, people were having these encounters. And I would say a good 90% of people, it seems to happen very randomly when they're by themselves. So, Heather, let's see what you have to say. She said possibly maybe entities who inhabit human bodies, if they are of another dimension or planet, who knows what their body composition consists of, maybe minerals, gases we don't have here. Yeah, I agree. Because it's the eyes, right? Like I was thinking, even if they were shapeshifters, you can't tell me they can shift everything except their eyes. So what the heck are they? And if they're human alien, you know, hybrids, I'm thinking about this as I'm talking. There's got to be a reason for the smell. But like I often talk about on this show and the other, my other show, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed, we as a human species are so incredibly powerful in many of these things that we hear about in other beings, but we've never been taught to learn how to use them, how to manage them, how to work with them. And as we get older, we're told it's all our imagination. They don't exist. This is crazy. But yeah, we can do all kinds of stuff. So Robin says, hang on. There are lots of sightings of black-eyed children over here in the UK. Oh boy, Robin, we need to hear. What's a really crazy story? Even if you want to come on here and pop on here, I'll send you a link if you want. And you guys can do that if you want. So Heather, that's a good question. That's a really good comment. Alien possession. I don't know. Never heard of that before. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So Sam's got another interesting comment for us. It's interesting because some animals, like cats, will mimic the sounds babies make because they know that is the sound of our young. It's not too far-fetched to think an entity would mimic a child's form, knowing that it would draw us in. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I will tell you, I am on high alert if I run into a child spirit. Because as I've often said, yes, many of us are good. All of us are capable of picking up energy, as evidenced with something so strong as running into a black-eyed kid. But, when you've got something, say that's older than time as we know it, and you're dealing with it as one human being, I would think they've had thousands and thousands and millennia to be able to learn to mask their energy signature. Eventually, you're going to figure it out. But my point is, I can't tell you how many I have, either running into stories or talking to people that have seen this or what have you. So, and like I said, not all there are child spirits out there that need help, and I'm not saying I won't go anywhere near it. It's just I do have some caution up when I run into something like that. And then again, I'm still really pondering Heather's comment about alien possession. But so are we thinking a demon possessing? Okay, I got to think about this now because, well, there are reports out there that there are humanoid looking extraterrestrials, we'll say, that their physiology on the inside apparently isn't the same as a human being. But I believe, and again, I've never been able to prove this right or wrong, but there's the story of Valiant Thor, right? Back in the 50s when the atom bomb was formed, they claim, there are stories, and he said his name was Valiant Thor, that he was sent from Venus as a Venusian and here to talk to those in charge about you do not want to be blowing things up with nuclear weapons, because if you guys blow yourself up, this is a whole galaxy. Like, you're going to basically mess things up for all of us. Don't know if it's true or not. I've seen pictures. I don't know if the pictures are true. They could have just picked any guy and said, hey, who's Thor? And why Thor, right? But he looked very humanoid. And then if you get into, there's, I should see if I could get him back on here. I used to have him on the show all the time in my first year on the network. I'm coming up to my 4th anniversary actually in July. But this gentleman's name is Dan Willis. He worked with Marcel Vogel. So for those of you into crystals, he knows all kinds of things about Vogel crystals and why they're so powerful and why they work. But he also used to be in the military. And there is, I believe it was May 6, 2002, they thought we were going to have disclosure with Dr. Stephen Greer. He put together a bunch of military personnel that had, and higher ups that had witnessed or seen or would testify to the existence of extraterrestrials. And they came with, as the kids these days were saying, the receipts. And I know Dan would talk about it a lot on my show, but I never saw the clips from it, because as the story goes, there was about 20, give or take, scientists, people, military personnel, what have you, that were testifying at the New York Press Club. They were under oath. Every major news center was there. It was May the 6th, 2002. And between all these individuals, and they were willing to go before Congress, they testified at that time to the existence of 57 different types of extraterrestrial beings on our planet. There's probably way more now. And they thought this was going to be the moment of disclosure. And then, as Dan tells the story, where all that happened was at the end of, the newscast, last 15 seconds, they made a mockery of it. The newscaster, like, ha ha ha, some people think that aliens exist, and, sort of made a joke out of it. But Dan put together a video, hello baby, in the last, I think it was probably the last 6 months, why the secret space program will still remain secret. And he actually put all the clips with the story about why and how and who was testifying, what their experiences were. It's a fascinating video. It's about an hour long. There's a lady that's no longer alive by the name of Carol. I forget what her last name was. She had long, sort of whitish colored curly hair. She was a middle-aged woman, but she used to work with Warner von Braun from World War II. And let's just say there was a fascinating testimony that she put in there, including those of you that get into a little bit of what I like to call truth seeking with Project Blue Book. And she proves and talks about it. Like I say, it's quite a fascinating story. I didn't mean to get off track here, but where I was going with this big, long, we're going circling back with alien possession. So is it a humanoid looking alien that is possessed by something? Or is it an alien that's possessed by something that looks humanoid, but it can't do anything about the eyes? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to scroll up here. We got some great comments. And about the cats, yeah, Sam. Well, you know what my greatest pastime is, like guilty pleasure, and I just, oh my God, like I am rolling off the bed, is the cats that talk. There is a guy called the Kiffness. I think he's on YouTube and TikTok, and he takes cats that sound like they're making humanoid noises, and he makes songs out of them, and not goofy songs. Like, we're talking like, going to a rave kind of music. He's from France. So if you can check him out, sometimes he's funny, but when people put a compilation together, I literally cannot believe the noises that come out of cats. It's so hilarious. So back to the comments here. So Robin says, I personally haven't saw any, but there have been newspaper stories about them. So Robin, what do you think? Like, why do you think that there's so many stories that come out around there? Just asking out of curiosity. Oh, really, Sandra? Sandra says I dated a guy named Thor once. Really? Oh, do tell. So Heather says could be a negative alien, bad intent, but have the ability to possess a human. Perhaps children are easy. The smells are a mishmash of alien biochemistry mixing on this planet. Interesting. I don't know. Like I'm open to hear all of these theories because like I say, this topic has fascinated me for many years. Like Zach said, I don't want to run into one. I don't want to have an encounter with one. But why does this happen? Where does it come from? Right? There's so many things we don't know. Though I always say it doesn't matter what field you're in, but you hear people that'll be out there that'll say, well, I know the truth about such and such a topic. And it doesn't matter if it's a paranormal, it doesn't matter whether it's fashion, whether it's beauty, whatever. I know because I've got an insider and they tell me everything. And then that person will put the information out there. And there could maybe be a small, little, minute part of truth in there, but my thoughts always are really, seriously. And I'm not saying that people aren't special, but what makes you so special that you get told everything and you're allowed to put it out everywhere, but nobody else is? Like, I always think, as a human race, just regular, everyday people like we are, we're going to be the last to know. I'm sorry, but we are. I could be wrong, but I think that we are. And I always think that truth will rise to the surface. So if somebody's not telling the truth, and it doesn't matter what it's in, eventually their lies are going to catch up with them. The truth always comes out. Not quickly sometimes, but the truth always comes out. So Michelle says, date a guy, Thor. Now I'm sore. Okay. And Sandra says, oh, he sounds like he's just my type, Sandra. He was blonde, hunky, bodybuilder. Well, I didn't really like the bodybuilders, but I like tall, used to love tall, blonde, blue-eyed guys. Actually, my ex, hopefully he doesn't watch my podcast. We're still friends. He was the love of my life. I was engaged to him. And for those of you that are old enough to remember this band, and he does not look like this anymore, but Duran Duran, back in the day, Simon Le Bon, he looked similar to Simon Le Bon, but he was even 100 times better looking. He was about 6'4", almost 6'5", lifeguard. So he wasn't bodybuilder type, just, now that was my type of guy. Sorry, but it was. Now I don't have a type of guy. I swear to God, if I'm ever single again, I'm staying single. I have no desire. So Sandra says he was a good dancer. Okay, cool. Oh, sounds interesting. So Robin says, I believe that they exist, and I also believe that there is something not nice associated with them, something evil. Yeah, you kind of hopped in towards the end, Robin, but that's what we were talking about. Like, we're trying to figure out, like, what is this? Because, you got to pick up something about, like any human being. Like I said, yes, those of us that are empathic or very sensitive to energy or whatever, yes, we can pick things up. But like, this is everybody that's had an experience that has been able to write down what their experience is, have all reported this horrific terror and fear, and they have no idea why. Well, hello, are you coming to say hello? So Michelle says, so 1996 was the first stories about the black-eyed kids in Texas. Thank you. Yes, it was. So they just seem to come out of nowhere. Like, I don't know. It's so odd. And no, you're not going on the computer. You come over here, you little monkey. This is Stephen Nicole here, you guys. And she's decided she's going to make an appearance tonight. Are you? Are you hanging out with us? Yeah? Okay. So she's going to join us. This is my co-host for the evening. Back to the story. Let me grab a drink here of energy drink. I didn't know where we were going to go with the story tonight. And I thought, holy cow, we haven't talked about black-eyed kids. Now, I've heard of white-eyed kids too, but I haven't heard the stories like I have of the black-eyed kids. It's so strange. And then again, thank you, Michelle. I knew it was somewhere in the 90s. And oh, I have a fluffernutt kitty. Yes, yes, I do. I love animals. My dream is, as Dave and I joke, because we said if we ever won the lottery, Dave, meaning my co-host, that we would both, you know what, you just need enough money to be financially free, is what I say, or comfortable, right? I don't need millions and millions of dollars. And not that I would mind, because Dave and I have often joked that if we had both, either one of us won the lottery, we would open an animal rescue. That would be our dream. No, you never find me out buying $10,000 shoes or whatever. I don't need all that stuff. I'm not a really material type person. So I have a little problem with gnomes, maybe. I don't know what made me think of that, but yes, I do love gnomes. Zachman says, that's an adorable co-host. She's so fluffy. You just want to pet it. She's very tiny too. Look at how tiny she is, full grown. And she's like, I know she looks big, but she's not. She's a little peanut. She probably weighs about 2.5 pounds. No, and she loves my crystal, this one that I wear all the time. No, you're not biting that. Stop. Her real name is Stevie. She was named Stevie by my son, who does drag, for those of you that know me, part-time. And we had a bunch of kittens, all them when I had my house. And we were very responsible. They're all in very loving homes. The mamas got fixed, the whole bit. But the first litter, we didn't know what to call them. And I think my son wanted to call her, he has a funny sense of humor. I think he wanted to call her Dill Pickle or something. There was a weird name, but he was watching RuPaul's Drag Race at the time. And he had seen, I guess there was a diva episode. Now, I've never really considered Stevie Nicks a diva, but I guess one of the queens ended up with Stevie Nicks. I think that was the one that went home that week too. And I thought, oh my God, that was stacked against him. Anyways, he wanted to call her Stevie. So her name is Stevie. I wanted to call her, I think I wanted to call her Molly. Hey, your sister got called Molly. And she's not Molly anymore. But apparently, and my son, my eldest, discovered this, and she does prefer it. She is a little diva, and so she prefers to be called Stephen Nicole. I kid you not. So there's my personal story for the night. So Robin says, I know that demons can disguise themselves as children to fool us. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about when you kind of popped in. That is why I am always on high alert if you run into a child spirit. But they show as normal kids. Yeah. So, and for us to help, for black-eyed kids to show as scary kids, and surely they can't be nice. They look menacing. Well, you weren't here when we were talking about it, but they're, because I've often asked the story, first of all, or the questions, as I'm sure we all have that are aware of this, is why do they have to be invited in? There are people that are reporting a horrific odor with many of these encounters, not everybody. I've seen of a couple different stories, because that was my question always. Well, what happens if you let them in? But then I was thinking, have you guys ever heard of that? Maybe it was just me where I grew up, that people used to say that if you dream of you're falling off a building and you hit the ground, that you die in your dream. Like, how ridiculous is that? But as a little kid, right, you used to believe this, because if you die in your dream, how are you going to let anybody know that you died in your dream because you were dreaming about falling off a building? Well, it's kind of the same thing as this. You let somebody in, you let them in. Well, do you live to tell about it? Well, apparently you do. But the people that have let them in at short exposure get extremely, extremely ill. And I have heard of, okay, you can move your tail, sweetie. I've heard of some people dying, like getting really rare forms of illness and not being able to cure it, and they pass away. So my feeling is exactly kind of what you said, Robin. I don't think there's anything positive about them. But to me, I've even asked Spirit, like, well, what are they? And why do they have to be invited in? They need and then why do the men in black show up if their parents show up to pick them up? Because there's been people reporting that. Why do they show up? Like, are these rogue kids that escaped from a facility and are coming to collect them? Yeah, Michelle says, are they dressed in older kids' clothes? Well, that's what I've heard. It's always very drab. There's no color. They're really like, they look like second or third or fourth hand-me-downs. There's no logos. There's nothing current like what kids would be wearing in the day whenever they show up at your house. They're usually very ill-fitting. A lot of people, and this is nothing against anybody Amish or anything, a lot of people have thought maybe these were Amish kids or whatever they are, because they just don't act and look like regular kids. And the other thing they say is they're very formal for a child, like the language that they'll use and stuff. So to me, they're posing as a child, but what are you? And why are you getting picked up and collected by men in black? I don't know. Like, this just seems so strange to me. And like I say, I've had these questions for a long time, and I thought it would be a cool discussion tonight to talk about it. Plus, the other thing I was just thinking, maybe Spirit gave me this, maybe my higher self. What would happen if you could muster this up? God forbid you had an encounter, but you were aware of energy and you were aware of how to shield yourself. Like I've talked about often on my YouTube channel, two of the videos I share the most are how to ground and grid yourself and how to use a love shield, create a love shield. So if you were able to do that, could you repel them? Could you block them trying to coerce you telepathically? Not something I want to experiment with and see if it happens, but just a thought. So Robin says, hi, Adriana. Nice to see you here. Guys, Adriana is a host on our network. Her show was earlier today at 1 o'clock. I was not expecting to see you, so go ahead and share, Adriana, your show. You guys, she has an amazing show. I have shared her show on my main profile, in both my Facebook groups, because she gives the most excellent information and advice when it comes to running and setting up a business. And it's not geared to one business in particular, but it's really sound, excellent advice. And I'm telling you, I have been like just soaking it up, because it's basically work smarter, not harder. So she goes, oh, thank you. I love your show. Well, I just love your show. And back to our comments. So Robin says, I've heard that they have been spotted in woods as well, and there are groups of them. Oh, Robin, now you got to tell us more about that. I have not heard that. So this must be over in the UK. Has anybody else heard that? Because we've got people from all over the world here in our comments. Has anybody heard about groups of black-eyed kids in the woods? And like, why would they be in the woods? I don't know. Like, I get on these kicks where I have so many questions, and then I want to know, like, what is going on with this? Like, where are they coming from? Why do they cause these issues? How do they pick the people they do the things they do? Why do they need to be invited in? Why are their eyes black? Because, I mean, we talked about so many different phenomena tonight. Like, are they shapeshifters? Okay, if you're a shapeshifter, you should be able to shift your eyes. What is this? The zoo tonight? No, you're here. No, my dog's saying hello. Sorry, guys. I have no co-host tonight, so my animals have decided they're co-hosting. Okay, you know what? Emmy, you can get down now. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I don't mind so much if I had a guest here. I would mind, but no, you need to go lay down, please. Go lay down. You said hello. Thank you. So I have so many questions. And again, nobody seems to have any answers. And if I miss something here, please let me know. Please share it with the rest of our group here. And I should remind you guys too, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to United Public Radio Network, otherwise known as UFO Paranormal Radio Network. And this is a live show right now for the Angel Rock. And I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. Right now, we are talking about black-eyed kids. Michelle says she keeps saying kids. Now here are your kids, LOL, my fur kids. God, no, usually when my son with the autism comes in, and I have no idea why. Kids do the strangest things. If you have children, you will know, because what they do is he knows I'm done. It'll be at 7:55 my time, and he'll start opening the door to check. And as soon as he knows I'm done, it's great. It's wonderful. He didn't need anything. He just needs to know I'm finished. I don't know if he thinks I'm going to end up in the Twilight Zone and I'm going to be podcasting to eternity or something. Um, Sorry, well, she does. My dog, Emmy. I have no idea why I did this to her. I never had big dogs. I always had little dogs. And then Dell and I were together in our previous home, the haunted home. And leave it. Hey, hey, leave it, please. My dog likes to chase the cat, so we don't need kitties running and cords getting pulled out. Anyways, we happened to be watching. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, and locally they had all these classified ads running on TV. And my partner, the Dell, said, "Hey, this is German Shepherd. You want puppies? You want to go look at them?" And I already had 4 little dogs in the home that I was in because I owned the home. And I said, "Sure." And we went and looked, and we ended up getting our first German Shepherd, Shiloh. And I used to call her Shy Shy. So we lost her at the age of 9. Actually, she died in my arms. It was very, very sad. And long story short, my eldest son said to me, "I have friends that are a couple that have 13 German Shepherd puppies. And do you want to look?" And I thought, yeah, let's go have a look. Because I often say to people, "Oh, I'm going to get your comment, Manuel. Just a sec." So I never say that animals could ever replace anybody. Just like there's nobody that can replace anybody else. But I do think that there's nothing better if you're able to handle it and you're okay with it, to bring a baby, like a bit like a baby pet or whatever, right? To help heal your heart. It had been a few months, and the only reason I said yes is because Emmy looks nothing like Shiloh. Shiloh was a long-haired golden shepherd with black patches. She was completely black, short-haired, with light patches. She wanted nothing to do with me. She picked up my son. And I remember we had all these puppies running on the front lawn. It was out in the country. And I whispered it in her ear and I said, "That's okay. Soon you'll be mine." And she was. She's definitely attached to me. So, oh wait, let's hear Adriana's theory here. I want to hear this. So her theory is because the woods are alive. That's a source of energy. Interesting. But like where I was going with this was, okay, with black-eyed kids, like usually you just hear them popping up out of nowhere, and then they seem to go, like, disappear. There's been reports, it sounds like, of blacked out bigger vehicles, and it looks like men in black getting out and collecting these children. So to hear of like a collection or a group of these children in the woods, that's an interesting theory because I've never even heard of this before, of seeing a collection of them. But Robin, who's over in the UK, or Halfern Paranormal, said that they have quite a few stories over in the UK. So interesting. And then Michelle says, "I meant for kids." So Manuel Lopez says, "I'm getting there. Clones, Spocky." So is that what you think these are? Are these clones gone bad? Manuel, is that what you think? Like I said, I seriously thought, let's have a conversation about this tonight and see. Well, you sent me 2 news reports about sightings in the UK. Okay, hang on. Like I said, there's no form to, oh, he did send me. Thank you, Robin. Give me a sec. We'll check it out. I might have to put my glasses on, but let's see how long it is. Ooh, I hope you guys don't mind. Um, Sandra says, "Manuel, are they clones or clowns?" And Adriana says, "It's easy to lure people. Time doesn't exist when you get lost." Absolutely. Um, let's read this, what Robin said. Thank you, Robin. So the article says, "Couple traumatized after terrifying encounter with Canuck chases black-eyed children." And this is from the Staffordshire Live. So, oh, they almost have a picture. I'll have to try and post these links, guys, after the show. So if you're just joining me or you're listening on the replay, and you're wondering what we're talking about, my Facebook profile is public. So you can find it under Lorilei Potvin. If you look it up, or even the Angel Rock, you'll find me. And I'll try and post these under the live tonight so you guys can see this. So it says, in quotations, "The black-eyed child has reportedly been spotted by a young couple while camping at Cannock Chase. The couple claimed a giggling, ghostly girl." Now that's interesting because I have not heard of any of them giggling. "Encircled their tent before moving in ways humans simply can't move, to hide behind trees." Okay, right now what I'm hearing with this almost sounds something more evil entity-wise than black-eyed kids, but I'm going to continue. You guys see what you think. Well, some think the sightings are not real. Others believe she is the tormented soul of a young girl who was murdered in the area before the 1920s. Okay, am I reading the right story, Robin? I hope I am. There have been sightings of her reportedly in the Staffordshire forest since the 1980s. Kylie and Ben say they saw the ghoul, sort of girl, the ghoul, at Birches Valley during the summer of 2021. The last, we'll say the last 3 years. I can't say what this is because we don't want YouTube to get upset. Had kept the two teenagers, whose names have been changed to protect their identity, apart, so they decided to steal a night away together and camp illegally in the middle of the forest, as they told the author of this article. It was a decision they would soon live to regret. The youngsters, who were 17 at the time, recounted their ordeal to the supernatural investigator. Their tale is featured in his new book. It's called Haunted Cannock Chase, True Ghost Stories from the UK's Spookiest Location. I will give you guys that over in the UK. You have got crazy activity. It was around midnight when the teens heard something moving around outside their tent. Thinking it could be a deer, they remained still and quiet, not wishing to spook it. But when they realized they could hear footsteps, they unzipped the tent to take a peek. Let me grab a drink as I'm. Oh, well, they got a picture. Holy crap. Hang on. Okay, it's kind of blurry. Let me see if I can hold it up here. Can you guys see that? Yeah, see, when I started reading this almost sounds more, even before we got into this story, this sounds more like a spirit than an actual black eyed kid encounter. Because spirits can have black eyes, like definitely more along the negative line. Both campers heard the unmistakable sound of a small child giggling, so they turned on their torches or flashlights, lighting up the shadowy woodland to try and find the source. Ben saw it first, running from tree to tree, hiding itself behind the trunks and occasionally peering out towards the couple before finally stepping out into the clearing in front of them. Kylie said, I was absolutely terrified. I'd read the stories in the news about the black eyed child, but it wasn't until the thing stood right in front of them that I could quite believe it. I knew instantly we were dealing with the real thing because it moved in ways humans simply can't move. It was like it could teleport from one place to another when it was moving around and hiding behind the trees. And then Ben added, I was shining my torch or flashlight right at her, and she just stood there staring at us with her head slightly dipped. It's when the giggling started to get louder and louder. It really sounded like it was coming from all around us, even though I could see that she was right in front of us. It was really disorientating for a few seconds. Then she bent down for a moment as if adjusting her shoes, stood back, and ran off down a nearby path through a dense section of trees. The frightened pair huddled together in their tent, waiting for the sun to rise. Oh, that's the worst feeling. So they came out. I won't keep. It's quite a long article, so I'll just sort of skim it. It says they came out at 7, found piles of stone evenly spaced around the perimeter of their tent. Oh my God, that gives me Blair Witch vibes. Strange stick formations hanging from the trees. You guys, I'm gonna be thinking about this story when I'm out at camp and there's no street lights out there. So when it's dark, it is dark. And they said that these stick formations look like dream catchers. So they packed up and started the 15-minute walk back to Ben's car. And then Kylie said all of a sudden she spotted this child with the black eyes again. And I guess she screamed. So Ben said, he shouted, leave us alone. And I guess he's been looking into this. He said there's been quite a few reports. That is crazy. Okay, let me read some of your comments here. So Michelle says, reverse his speech. Black-eyed kid spoke dark elf. Sleep dark elf. Maybe I'm missing something here. Well, there are dark elves. Like, just, you got to think about it, though. Everything we have on this planet, right? And there's always an opposite. So you have hot, you have cold, you have night, you have dark, you have, I mean, you can go on and on, even with human beings. And then you hear about ET encounters, right? Like the reptilians, you'll hear really awful things, and the Anunnaki, people have had encounters, and then you'll hear from other people they had great encounters, or, whatever that may look like. Some people connect in meditation, some people feel like they've been abducted. So I really believe that just like human beings, where we can have good and we can have some not so good and downright evil, I think we can have that in practically everything. So Michelle, thanks for clarifying. She said, I'm saying black-eyed kids backwards sounds like dark elf. I never thought of that. But does that still, okay, so think about this. Now we're going to get really crazy here, but we're on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, right? So if you think about elementals or fairies, and depending on what you're working with, and then there's trolls and there's gnomes and there's elves and there's things like that, you don't have to, they don't have to have your permission to enter your home or your domicile, I'll say, whether that's your car or your house, right? Like, that's what really gets me. Like, why do these things have, I don't want to call them things, but these beings, I'll say, have to be invited in? They just can't enter of their own accord. Now, they could compel you to enter of their own accord because there's so many reports of people saying that even though they're terrified and they don't want to let these kids in, that they'll catch themselves just about having the door halfway open and unlocked and they're about to let them in. So what is this? I don't know. Maybe I'll have to do some automatic writing. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Maybe I'll have to do some automatic writing because sometimes that will give me some answers that I haven't thought of before, right? Getting into a bit of a meditation. Okay, so Robin, what you're sending me, these aren't black-eyed kids. These are black-eyed ghosts, but there's some drone footage. Ew. Oh my gosh. Ew, ew, ew. Okay, I'm going to show this. It's pretty small. I don't even have to read the story. This is creepy. Can you guys see this thing? This is what was caught on the drone. So there's some, you guys have heard me many, many times talk about Nuke's Top 5. I love that channel. The reason why I do is because I find that he doesn't tell people what to think. He just shares a story with you and he leaves it up to you. I know Adriana, and he just put out a video on the weekend. I've been noticing he's been doing more top 10. But there is a story I actually do want to talk about that because I did do some homework here. We're going to carry this on with Thursdays. Okay, first of all, have you guys seen this video? There's a bunch of them interviewing, looks like an alien. Oh my God, the voices are creepy. Anyways, in one of the videos I downloaded, this is off of TikTok, they're threatening to, I think it was electroshock this being if he doesn't speak to them. And this is on TikTok. It says, so you know how the universe is created? This is the interviewer asking him. This is on the TikTok channel at F as in Frank, A, N as in Nancy, C as in cat, L as in lion, U as in umbrella, P as in Peter, _ UFO. Thank you for sending me a voice message, Michelle, but I won't be able to read it or hear it till after. They are interviewing, because those of you that are new here, this one, I don't know, I'm going to call, it doesn't feel real, doesn't look real. And I apologize for not uploading, but there's not a lot of space to do this. And then we don't have to worry about any copyright strikes for, music or whatever they're playing. This appears to be some type of alien being. I don't know where, having some chocolate. But this thing, the one I just showed you, and it's blinking, it almost looks like a puppet, but I don't know, guys, because I don't really want to run into, I have missing time, as you guys know. I've shared this with you before, but I don't remember what happened during it. There's an hour and a half and I blinked. But, oh, sorry, I got a note. This isn't even my regular phone. So anyways, there's this entity on here. This looks like, don't get me wrong, the background somebody's added to the video, but it's black and a spotlight. This isn't the one, because there is a clip that was leaked. I believe it was from the late 80s, and it's really sad because it's an ET, and he's with some type of government agency, I will say, and he ends up passing away. No, don't say sorry. I think it's cool. I'm so glad. Thank you. Oh, it's a recording of the speech reversed. I didn't know if you wanted me to play it. Don't say sorry. I appreciate what you send me. Okay, here's another one. This is where they're threatening him. I don't know if it's the same guy. It looks like it, kind of sounds like it. And they're asking him, how do you know English? And they're threatening him. Oh, sorry, scopolamine. They're going to give him some scopolamine. Now that's like, if I'm not mistaken, scopolamine, um, it's kind of, I want to say it's similar to like gravel, like for travel sickness. But I've also heard, I'll have to look it up to be sure. It may be like a truth serum, part of a truth serum, but they're threatening him. But when you hear this voice and he's very hard to understand, like, I don't know if these are real. And like, where would you get this from? Oh, that's cool. If you want me to play it, Michelle, I can try. Or is that just your voice? You want me to hear it privately? Because whatever you want me to do, I appreciate you sending it to me. Let me look up scopolamine because I am positive that it's like a sedative, almost like um, gravel can be. Gravel is called diamond hydronate, though. Let me look it up. It's for motion sickness usually. Let me look this up. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, scopolamine, known as hyoscine or the devil's breath. Interesting. Let's see what it says. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, scopolamine. It's a medication used to manage and treat postoperative nausea and vomiting and motion sickness. I was pretty sure I'd heard of scopolamine because being a nurse, right? But the problem is in the United States and around the world, we use different names for different drugs, especially a trade name like acetaminophen versus Tylenol. But like say over, I believe in the UK, but I know in Australia, it's paracetamol is a different name, right? So to try and know all these different names. So it's recording of the speech reversed. You know what I'll do then? I'll post it because I don't want to get any audio feedback. That's why I don't play any audio during this because we will get audio feedback. And the same thing with TikTok, you never know, right? Because people put music in there and I don't want to get any copyright strikes. So it's not ideal, but you guys get to see what I'm talking about. So Robin, you sent me a bunch of ghosty type stories from legend and lore with something black-eyed. Now, what we're talking about here is black-eyed actual children showing up, knocking on people's domiciles, I will say, whether it's their car, whether it's their home, and they are insisting that they be let in. And they have even said in some of these stories, we cannot enter until you give your permission. We want to come in. We need to come in. We just want to watch some TV. We're hungry. We need a snack. We want to call our parents for something. And then, like I said, they just get most insistent. People are terrified and they don't know why. They haven't even seen these kids' eyes yet. And then when the kids look up, and it's almost like these people are reporting almost being in a trance. And then when I was talking about earlier, before you'd gotten here, that some people have let these kids in and then they've reported they've gotten very ill afterwards. Some people have died. You said you'll resend it. So sorry, Michelle says, I will resend it. Say it forward, then play it backwards. Okay. I don't usually play things backwards, but that's interesting. You find all kinds of things played backwards. So I don't know. So you guys, I don't know. What do you think about all that? Like, have you guys heard of the white-eyed phenomena? I have so many questions, but I have this kind of brain, right? Like I'm still, and I'm not sharing this to create fear, but I have gotten from spirit over the last few years, zombie, 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 not Walking Dead zombie, nothing like that. And I'm not getting into conspiracy theory or anything like that. But when you did look it up, I now know it has since been removed. But from the US government pages with FEMA back in 2012, they had zombie preparedness and they tried to brush it off as like it was a joke kind of thing, right? I know that they even had paid actors. They did basically practice runs of this. Now, why did they do that? They don't exist, right? But then I think Dave and I were talking about this a little bit on the thing at the foot of the bed, because when it might have been last week, but when we were talking about Like what I keep getting is with zombie, like not what we think we're going to see, but now I don't know if it's going to be AI because we've got robots that come out that can be controlled, right? And I always think, you know what, whatever's behind the scenes is probably at least 50 years ahead of what we're seeing as the general public. Again, like I said earlier in the show, right? We're going to kind of be the last to know. But the whole thing is they're not supposed to exist. So do they exist? We got, yeah, I'm positive it was Thursday because we got into a little bit of a discussion and the people in the chat were sharing where the actual zombie, legend and lore had come from and what have you. But I often wonder, like, what are these things? Where do they come from? Oh, sorry. So Robin says, okay, so Sandra says, wait, we'll read the comments. What have people been experienced with white-eye children? I've heard similar experiences, but I found it very rare. I haven't seen a lot of research on this subject. I just know it exists as well. I don't know what would be worse, white or black. So Robin says, sorry, Lorilei, my son was having a chat with me, so don't know if you were asking me anything about those news reports. Oh, no, I was just reminding you that it seems like those are more like paranormal spirit related. And saying hi to your son and whoever else you got over there at your house. But these are actual, like real physical beings knocking on your door. But like, where do they come from? Like, they just show up and they seem to pick people randomly. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it. Michelle says, yeah, they're planning for the zombie acropolis. I don't know what it is. Like, and then again, you get into Talpas. Like that always fascinates me too, because, think of Slender Man. That was a creepy pasta story. And then more and more people got into it. More and more people talked about it. They put their attention, their focus, and their energy into it. And we are now seeing pictures of what looks like Slender Man. How did that happen? People are talking about encounters with it, paranormal type things. How does that happen? Right? Then you get things like the New Jersey Devil or Mothman or things like that. Like, I don't think that they would be tulpas. Have they got a collective energy, belief, speech, and talk about them? Yes. Yes, they do. But I believe they've become popular because of what people encountered seeing them, not versus somebody writing a fictional story and then it almost going viral and people really talking about it, putting their energy into it, and almost manifesting that energy into a spirit form. So there's a difference. I don't know. Like I said, there's so many questions I have out there, like including, don't you, if you guys have seen those Bigfoot pictures, for those of you guys that just came in, I'm going to show you them. These are going viral right now. I've seen anything from people debunking it, saying that there's no way, these don't exist, this is fake, to, because if you're late to the party, we had quite a talk. Michelle was it Michelle? She said, is his private parts blurred? And I said, no, I don't think they are, and they're not. But like, okay, guys, I want to ask you, where in God's name could you ever picture a picture being taken like this? Like people are just calmly hanging out with what looks like a Bigfoot, and obviously from the past. And what I said was, in this picture, the person has a stick, but I didn't notice a stick till the second picture. Now the Bigfoot has a stick. Did he take the stick from the first guy? Like, what the heck? And you can tell the clothing's it's not modern. Never mind. Then we got into, why can we not see what gender, I'll say gender, this Bigfoot is? And Michelle had drawn our attention to the fact, I like that Michelle thinks outside the box, that we can't tell what his gender is. We're assuming what their gender is. We're assuming it's a male. Otherwise, we'd be able to tell from the front of the chest, right? And then we got really silly because I had to bring up, I was watching a makeup tutorial today with drag. My eldest son, for those of you that don't know, does part-time drag. And I said, maybe he's talking like a drag queen does. I don't know. Sorry, you said, Michelle, I think Australian Grumblement has it also. Oh, do they? Interesting. Okay, so now, okay, Robin sent me some more stories here. Uh, okay, let me check it. Like these sound like they're spirits, though, Robin. Like these sound like the ones you're sending me. They're awesome stories. And while you were talking to your son, if you weren't here, I showed the picture of the spirit in the woods. It looks like they caught with the drone footage. So let me check this one out. I appreciate you guys sending me stuff. Like I said, I'm just hanging out with you because it's a long weekend. And I didn't know, I purposely didn't book a guest because I didn't know if we were going to go out to camp or what we were going to do. So, and if not, I thought, well, let's just hang out together. We don't get to do this often enough. No, you leave that alone, monkey. Okay, so Heather says maybe they're comparing privates on each other using a stick for measurement. I don't know, but it's just like, where would a picture like that be taken? Like, I just can't even imagine. And like I said, people are calling BS on it, but we didn't have Photoshop back then, or did somebody put this together making it look like a Photoshop, like from an old picture? I don't know, because like, where would you even have? Yeah, we're gonna have Bigfoot over for barbecue. Bigfoot, bring your own weenie and marshmallow roasting stick, okay? Yeah, let's pose for a picture before we get the bonfire going. Like, I'm serious. I think that's what the stick was for. That the first picture, the gentleman was saying, "Here, Bigfoot, here's your stick. This is the one you're going to use for your hot dogs and your marshmallows." And then that was after they had barbecued, and so he had the charred remains of his stick from his marshmallow roast. How's that sound? I don't know. Okay, so Robin sent me two more. This is Black Eyed Child returns to terrify a town more than 30 years after she was last seen. So is this kind of from the same forest? This sounds like this is legend and lore about a black-eyed spirit. Okay, so this picture isn't a picture of her, is it? Like that looks like a black-eyed kid. That really does look like a black-eyed kid, Robin. Like, mind you, this one looks like there might be, nope, nope, there's no white in the eyes. So that would be kind of like what a black-eyed child would look like, solid in front of you. So I'm not sure. So Robin says they have photos. So this is another one. Interesting. And why you have children. What's your thoughts on this, Robin? Like you said, this is this, it sounds like this is the spirit of the child that was missing. It says black-eyed child returns to terrify a town more than 30 years after she was last seen. So they believe this actually is the child? I don't know, because that seems awfully odd that a child would be kind of evil and terrify people and stuff. Or is she evil? She's just perceived as evil. Oh, don't knock that over, you little monkey. Sorry, guys. Give me one sec. This cat is being a little monkey. My co-host is not behaving herself this evening. Oh, well, thank you, but it's not my birthday, Michael, but welcome. It's Zach's birthday, and he is spending his birthday with us here. I'm so happy to see you. Well, all of you. I haven't seen Michael in a long time. Michael was on my show, and I'm hoping to have him on along with our friend Kimba. And I met Kimba through Michael. So that's something in the future coming up, future guests. We got some great guest guys coming up. Great. Okay, so I'm going to go through the comments a little bit here. So Heather says that picture reminds me of the giants talked about in the Bible. Oh my God, don't even get me started on the giants. Like I am on a giant. That story from over in Afghanistan with the U.S. military. There's a story right now that's gone viral, Canadian, that caught a picture of what looks like a giant on top of a mountain. There's a whole story with that, and apparently he is no longer with us. Then I've heard, yes, he is, no, he isn't. And this is me doing research on this. I tend to believe what this guy was saying in videos. What happened to him? He had video clips too. And there's been some filmed over in Mexico in the cave systems. It is crazy. I have seen some stuff over in the UK. My moderator on Paranormal University, one of my groups, she's over in Sardinia, which is the island off of Italy. You can only get there by boat or plane. And the Dell and I have watched documentaries over there. They have the giant tombs, the giants, and I've seen some of the pieces and pictures and stuff of that. And they go missing, like they would get confiscated by the government as soon as somebody unearthed it. So I remember asking her, I call her my adopted daughter. Her mom passed away years ago and she's an only child and she's amazing. I don't get to talk to her often enough, but anyways, I had asked her about this and she goes, "Oh yeah, I think I might have heard something about giant tombs or something." I said, "What do you mean you heard about it? You live on an island. You told me it only takes a couple hours to walk from one end to the other." And she goes, "Yeah, I never really looked into it." And so we've had a couple conversations about it, and apparently it's blocked off to all human beings now. The tombs are massive, like massive. And that's not the only place. Like, and why are we seeing giants all of a sudden? And then people that have supposedly reported on them, why do they have red hair and red beards? Most of them have red hair and red beards. Why? Where did they come from? Oh, that just made me think. Not this Nuke's Top 5 video series. I believe it was the second last one, most recent. I believe it's the second or third video in. It's deer hunters scoping out the deer. They're not shooting any deer or anything. They're filming them. This thing that goes chasing after the deer, and they're not that far away. Nope, please leave it. My dog's deciding she's going to chase the cat. Anyways, you can tell I can multitask, right? Talk and control the animals. And anyways, they're filming the deer and they're at quite a distance. And the one guy goes to his buddy, "Holy crap, you got to see this. It looks like this massive human, bald, no shirt on, black pants." And if you're in a woman and know what capris are, well, not that you can't wear them as a man, but usually women wear them. They're like mid-calf length, looks like dark pants. This thing is huge and moving at the like way faster than what any human could move at. And it's running, but it's running almost like a human that would be going on all fours. That to me looked like a giant too. Is it a giant? I don't know, but my gosh, like where are these things coming from and where are they hiding? Are they under the ground? Because the more you start digging into that and looking at that, I didn't do a lot of research on it, but I've read some reports of those that have gone underground have actually found lakes within an ocean underground. It's crazy. Or there is a story back, I believe, from the 1930s, and it's about the green children. There's two children that just appeared out of nowhere. They said they came from underground. They named their city, the whole bit, and they were green. Look that up. Like, I'm not kidding. It's supposedly it's not a fake story. It's real. Hi, Trish. Other dimensions that can be seen on portal days. Yeah, I don't know. Like I have so many questions. Like that's why I'm glad you guys are leaving all these comments and sending stuff. Like I said, whatever I can't post here live, I will post after the show in case you're just joining or you're listening on the replay, whatever that may be. My Facebook profile is public. So I have the show pinned at the top, and I will post some of the links like what Robin has sent us from Halfern Paranormal. Michelle earlier up sent us the backwards recording of Black Eyed Kids, which she feels sounds like Dark Elf. So I'll post that. And then Mike says, green from radiation underground. Is that what you heard? Did you hear that that's what were these, because these kids, they weren't sure where they came from. Hi, Trish. Also, Trish, I should say this. Trish is also a host on our network. Trish, please feel free to post the name of your show. You're on Tuesday nights, I believe now. Trish and I are trying to coordinate. We're going to be guests on each other's shows. So eventually you're going to see her here on the Angel Ride. And we have Adriana too. Like I said, she's on Mondays, one of our newer hosts. She's got a great show too. So does Trish. She talks about these things and many more like what I'm talking about tonight. So Yeah, I was fascinated about that story about these green children. I believe it was a brother and sister. They obviously didn't speak English, and I believe they wouldn't eat any of the food that we normally would eat as human beings. So I believe the brother who appeared to be the youngest ended up dying, but the girl that was green, she ended up growing right into adulthood, I believe marrying somebody and having a family and what have you. And I guess as they learned how to communicate and speak the language, she was able to report where they came from. It sounded like exactly sort of what you said, Trish, like another dimension, but from underneath the ground. So, where do these things come from? Why do we see them? Like, what's going on here? You guys are not going to believe. I even pulled out cards in case I didn't know where we were going with stuff. Oh, Trish Mo says we shouldn't eat the food um, that we eat either. That's true. That's a whole different show. I pulled out cards because I didn't know. I thought, you guys, I have no idea where we're going. So I do want to wish my fellow Canadians happy May long weekend or Victoria Day weekend. I hope you've had a safe, wonderful weekend. And then wish all our friends over in the US next weekend. They celebrate Memorial Day. I will let you guys know. I'm also keep your eyes open. This is a resin piece. It's not done it justice, but I do all kinds of resin. So I'm going to be putting that out there soon. Love skulls. But like I said, I even pulled out my cards in case you guys wanted to do readings. I didn't know where we were going with this. So Mike says we have food like substance. Okay. You guys, Robin, I didn't get a chance to get to all your articles, so thank you for sending them, but I will post them right after the show tonight because we are out of time, you guys. So if you ever want to get a hold of me, you got stories like this you want to talk about. I didn't even see, I want to read this quickly because Robin, I looked like it was interesting. Do you think, that these black-eyed children's spirits can have repercussions like seeing a banshee? Yes, and there have been a few people that have stated that have let them in. Not quite the same. Banshee's a little bit different. We'll have to say that for next time we get together and chit chat. It'll happen soon, I promise. But I have a whole ton of guests coming. I'm working on that right now. And I believe we're booked till the middle of July, and it could be the whole summer by the time I finish through all the emails. So it's going to be a good summer of a lot of good guests. Anyways, you want to get a hold of me? I get distracted, all these great comments. I saw Banshee and I thought, oh, I can't let that one go. You can get a hold of me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. I have two groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal about like what we're talking about tonight. And then I have the Angel Rocker Tribe for more of, helping people get in touch with their intuitive gifts, understanding a bit about, energy healing, connecting with your spirit guides, you name it. So that's in that group. So maybe you got a guest idea, a show idea, whatever, too. Feel free to reach out to me, like I said, on Facebook. And I'll be happy to connect with you and hear what you got to say. So stay tuned. We have a great show. I always forget to mention them. And they're friends of mine, Julia and Phil Syracuse, with the Horsefight Chronicles right after this. I will be back actually on Thursday with my amazing co-host, David Hansel, with The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. We're going to be talking weird, strange stuff as usual. So stay tuned for that. We will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I send you guys all so much love and light. I will be back with the Angel Rock next week. Returning guest who you guys have absolutely loved, Carmen Turner-Schott. She's got a new book out. She does astrology, but really cool perceptions she's made about astrology and how it relates to us as an individual. So you guys are really going to enjoy it. It has something to do with the moon. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. I had a lot of fun with you guys. Okay. Take care. We'll see you on Thursday. Have a good one.